Have you ever wondered why some men are drawn, not to the women who bring peace to their soul, but to the women who ignite chaos in their blood? There is a part of the masculine psyche that longs for fire, not water, for the storm, not the shelter. Carl Jung called this the shadow, the part of the self that remains hidden, repressed, feared. And for many men, sexual desire is not pure or even romantic. It is a mirror reflecting back all the wounds he has never looked at, the unmet needs of his inner child, the ghosts of power and control disguised as love. You've seen it. The man who claims he wants a kind woman, but falls apart over the one who is emotionally unavailable. He says he wants stability, yet obsesses over unpredictability. He touches your skin, but what he's really reaching for is something far older, deeper, more dangerous, a confrontation with his own shadow. This craving, this hunger is not about you. It's not even about sex. It's about possession, about control, about the ego trying to feel whole through another body. Desire, in its wounded form, is not attraction, it is addiction. He becomes consumed not by you, but by what you represent, the forbidden, the untamed, the unknowable. And the more you remain slightly out of reach, the more he wants to conquer you. But once you let him in, once you surrender, the spell breaks. He begins to retreat. Why? Because it was never you he loved. It was the thrill of the chase, the ache of wanting, not having. This is the paradox of the unevolved masculine. He confuses intensity with intimacy, and this confusion is fatal to connection. He doesn't know how to be with what he has, only how to long for what he doesn't. Jung taught that the anima, the feminine image in the male unconscious, is projected onto real women. That means the man doesn't truly see you. He sees a vision, the archetype of the dark feminine, seductive and elusive, a symbol of all that he represses in himself. When a woman walks in her power, when she is emotionally sovereign and spiritually radiant, she often awakens this unconscious projection in men. They become intoxicated, not because of her body, but because of the power she holds in not needing them. And this is where danger begins. When a man does not know himself, when he has not done the deep inner work, your very presence becomes threatening. He will desire you, yes, but that desire will turn possessive. He may try to dim you, doubt you, control you, not out of strength, but out of fear, because you touch the places inside him he has buried. And instead of facing them, he would rather try to own you, to turn you from mystery into property. You, woman, are not responsible for what he hasn't healed. But you must be aware, because a woman's body often becomes the battlefield for a man's inner war. He will touch you softly but love you violently. He will whisper promises with lips that carry pain. And you may mistake his intensity for depth. But intensity without awareness is not passion, it is projection. It is trauma reenacted under the illusion of love. Many women fall for this. They feel chosen, desired, seen. But what they are really experiencing is a man projecting onto them the shadow of his own mother wound, his fear of abandonment, his hunger for validation. He sees in you what he cannot hold in himself. And so the desire grows. Obsessive, insatiable, self-destructive. You are not his salvation. And if you mistake his longing for love, you may lose yourself in his chaos. You may begin to bend, to shrink, to become who he needs you to be instead of who you truly are. That is the trap. Sexual desire, when ruled by the unconscious, is a form of spiritual possession. It takes, it consumes, it leaves you empty, doubting, confused. But when a man has integrated his shadow, when he has faced his demons, desire becomes something else entirely. It becomes sacred, tender, alive, a force that builds rather than breaks, that honors rather than haunts. But few men reach this place, because it requires inner death, ego death, the courage to meet the monster inside and not run. And until he does, he will keep craving what destroys him, and calling it love. He does not crave you because of who you are, he craves you because of what you awaken in him. You become the living doorway to every forbidden part of himself, his helplessness, his vulnerability, his hunger to be devoured and reborn. This craving isn't about union, it's about annihilation. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And for the unevolved masculine, This fate often appears as one woman after another who mirrors back his shadow until the lesson is finally faced. To a man unacquainted with his inner world, the feminine becomes a mystery to conquer. Her silence unnerves him, her depth unravels him, her stillness becomes a mirror to his chaos. And instead of sitting with his discomfort, instead of asking what her presence is trying to teach him, he attempts to control it, tame it, or discard it. The most dangerous men are not those who rage. They are the ones who seduce with unconscious desperation, the ones who seek spiritual refuge in a woman's body because they've never met their own soul. These men believe that desire is the same as connection, that possession is the same as love, that being needed is the same as being worthy. They ache for validation through conquest, not knowing that the deeper need is for inner wholeness, not outer victory. You were never meant to be his battlefield, nor his mirror, nor his mother. When you enter a connection where a man has not done the work, you will feel it. His eyes will search you like a man drowning. His hands will tremble as if clinging to something holy. He will ask for your softness, but react violently to your boundaries. He will mistake your no for rejection, not knowing that true intimacy is born from the ability to hold tension, not dissolve it. And you, woman, if you are not anchored in your own worth, might believe his hunger is love. You may think, if he wants me this much, he must care. But let me tell you, intensity is not love. Possession is not intimacy. Desperation is not devotion. A man who is consumed by sexual desire but disconnected from emotional integrity will always leave you emptier than he found you. Sex, in its sacred form, is a language of the soul. It is not meant to be used to fill a void, but to merge wholeness with wholeness. However, modern men are rarely taught to understand this. Instead, they are conditioned to chase stimulation, dominance, conquest, and women, in turn, are taught to make themselves into vessels of approval, soft, beautiful, accommodating. But your body is not a home for his avoidance. Your soul is not a shelter for his pain. You are not here to be the emotional sponge of the unhealed masculine. When a man is spiritually starving, he will eat the parts of you that make him feel alive. He will compliment your beauty while avoiding your boundaries. He will praise your light while fearing your depth. And if you do not recognize this pattern, you will confuse his desire with destiny. This is the tragedy of unconscious desire. It binds two people not in truth, but in trauma. The woman begins to abandon herself in the name of being chosen. The man loses his soul trying to escape the silence within. What would it look like, then, for a woman to no longer be consumed by a man's craving? What would it mean to stay rooted, unmoved by his storm, radiant in her stillness? It would mean embodying the archetype of the integrated feminine, the one who receives but does not bend, who sees but does not chase, who awakens but does not rescue. And it would mean understanding that his hunger was never your responsibility. You were the catalyst, the mirror, the lesson, but not the cure. His craving is not a compliment. It is a call for healing his, not yours. If you answer it by giving yourself away, you will lose the very power that drew him in. But if you hold your ground, if you stay rooted in your wholeness, you give him the chance to rise or fall. But either way, you remain untouched. You are not the firewood to his flame. You are the mountain he must climb if he ever wishes to meet himself at the summit. There is a moment subtle, invisible to the world, when a woman feels the shift, when she realizes that the fire burning in a man's eyes is not about her, it is about his ache to feel power again, to escape his numbness, to taste control masked as affection. And in that moment, something ancient awakens in her. She remembers that she was not born to be devoured. This awakening is not loud. It doesn't come with screams or declarations. It comes in the stillness when she no longer answers his late-night messages, when she doesn't soften at his touch if his energy feels frantic, when she chooses to walk away even though her body still wants to stay. Carl Jung believed that a man projects the anima, his internal feminine, onto the women he meets, until he integrates it within himself. And until he does that, he will continue to mistake women for salvation. He will fall in love with the idea of being completed, not the reality of connection. He will treat your attention as oxygen, but your boundaries as betrayal. And you, woman, if you have not met your own shadow, will mistake that projection for truth. You will think, he sees me, he needs me. But what he sees is not you, it is his own emptiness. What he needs is not your love, it is his own integration. This is why women often feel drained after intimacy with such men. Not because the act itself is wrong, but because the energetic exchange is deeply uneven. You pour, he drinks, you open, he consumes. And the next morning, you are left wondering why your body aches in silence while he sleeps beside you, already retreating into distance. That is not love, that is shadow play. True desire, conscious, integrated desire does not seek to escape pain. It seeks to witness it, to hold it, to burn it clean in the fire of presence. But that requires emotional maturity. It requires a man to confront the parts of himself he's buried, his shame, his guilt, his fear of not being enough. It requires the willingness to be seen not just in strength, but in weakness. And most men haven't learned how. So they chase, they conquer, they seduce, and they fall apart when the illusion dies. But you are not here to keep the illusion alive. You are the mirror that does not lie. And when you embody your worth, when you hold your presence like a flame that does not flicker for anyone, something happens. The man who seeks only to possess you will falter. His words will stumble. His gaze will waver, because he cannot manipulate what he cannot consume. This is your power, not in withholding sex, not in playing games, but in knowing that your body is sacred, that your emotions are truth, that your energy is not a playground for the wounded masculine to seek temporary relief. There is a reason why he keeps coming back, even when he disappears. He feels something around you he cannot explain. Not lust that is easy, not love, he doesn't understand that yet. What he feels is the pull of transformation, the call to become someone worthy of your energy, and that terrifies him. Because transformation is death. The death of the ego that tells him he must dominate to matter. The death of the old boy who was never told how to feel without shame. The death of the mask he wears every day in a world that rewards detachment but punishes vulnerability. And if he is not ready to die, to truly die, to all that no longer serves, he will run. Let him. Do not dim your light for the man who cannot look into it. Do not make yourself small so he can feel big. Do not twist yourself into palatable pieces just to soothe his insecurity. You were not born to be a lesson in pain. You were born to be a portal into truth. Let the ones who are not ready fall away. Let the ones who crave you for what they cannot give fall silent. Their silence is not rejection, it is divine redirection toward your own becoming, toward the man who does not crave you to fill a void, but who meets you in the full presence of his wholeness. You are not here to teach boys how to become men. You are here to walk beside those who already have. There is something sacred in the woman who no longer waits to be chosen, who does not shrink when met with absence, nor ache for approval from the emotionally absent. Her power does not rise from seduction, but from detachment. Not the cold detachment of apathy, but the sacred detachment of self-possession, the kind that turns craving into clarity and longing into liberation. This is where many women falter, in confusing being desired with being valued. But desire, especially from a man who has not done the inner work, is often nothing more than projection heat without heart, pursuit without presence. It's the body reaching for warmth that his soul hasn't earned. A man who is not emotionally sovereign will use sexual desire like a drug, not to connect, but to forget his sadness, his shame, his softness. He will use you not as a mirror, but as a mask, hoping your presence can hide what he hasn't faced in the quiet of his own heart. And yet, you feel it. In the way he looks at you, not with reverence, but with hunger. In the way he touches you, not to connect, but to possess. In the way he listens, only until your silence begins to threaten his illusion. You are not his addiction, but he treats you as such. He comes back when the world grows too quiet. He praises your soul, but avoids your truth. He romanticizes your softness, but cannot hold your anger. This is the trap not of sex itself, but of sex devoid of soul, of touch without tension, of intimacy without intention. Carl Jung wrote of the shadow, the parts of ourselves we deny, suppress, or hide. And in men, one of the deepest shadows is the inability to sit in vulnerability. Sexual desire becomes the mask they wear over wounds never spoken. Behind the desire is often grief. Grief of not being enough, grief of never being seen, grief of never having been safe enough to be soft. And so, they become drawn to women not because they love them, but because they unconsciously believe these women might mother their broken inner child. They want you to hold what they will not heal, to understand what they refuse to express, to stay while they hide. But you are not his therapist, not his salvation, not the balm for his chaos. You are a force. You are the feminine in her embodied fullness, receptive, intuitive, clear. You sense what he doesn't say, you feel what he avoids, and the more whole you become, the more dangerous you are, not because you harm, but because you reveal. A man can fake strength, he cannot fake depth. Not with you. You see through the charming laugh, through the carefully timed compliments, through the way he watches you in the dark, not with admiration, but with the desperation of a man trying to merge with what he cannot become. This is why some men fall apart after sleeping with a woman rooted in her power. It's not her body that undoes them, it's her presence, her clarity, her stillness. It's the silence she holds after the kind that doesn't chase, doesn't cling, doesn't beg for more. He is left alone with himself, and if he's not ready to meet that self, he will turn her into the villain. He'll say she was too much, too mysterious, too intense. But what he means is, she was too honest for the lie I'm living. You must learn to recognize these men not with anger, but with awareness. They are not bad. They are boys who never became men. They are hearts too afraid to beat fully. They are bodies desperate for contact, but terrified of intimacy. And yet, you do not owe them your healing. You are not here to walk into fire just to prove your light. Instead, choose to rise. Choose to remain unburned. Choose to become the woman who no longer trades her essence for the echo of affection. Because the truth is this: when a man is truly ready, he will not crave you to fill a hole inside of him. He will come already whole, and his desire will not be frantic but focused, not devouring but devotional. He will not be afraid of your tears. He will not flinch at your truth. He will not punish your power. He will meet you where you already are because he has already met himself. And until that man appears, you wait not in loneliness, but in loyalty to your own becoming. There is a forgotten kind of power in the woman who does not rush her becoming. She does not chase what is not aligned, nor try to seduce what is not sovereign. She no longer confuses chemistry with compatibility, nor chaos with passion, because she has seen where desire untethered leads, to ache, to regret, to the quiet suffocation of self-worth. This is what most men do not understand when they're drawn to her. She is not here to entertain their fantasies. She is not a stage for their unresolved ache. Her beauty is not an invitation to bypass her soul. Her silence is not a void to fill with empty pleasure. She is a mirror, and not all men are ready to see what she reflects. When a man moves through the world cut off from his inner feminine, his intuition, his receptivity, his emotional truth, he begins to seek the external feminine as compensation. He doesn't pursue a woman to love her. He pursues her to feel, to escape the numbness, to remember for one brief moment that something inside him is still alive. But this is not love, it is anesthesia. And no woman, no matter how radiant or wise, can be the cure for a man who refuses to feel. He will say he's drawn to her energy. He will call her rare. He will worship her words. But the moment she invites him into depth, into vulnerability, into slowness, into truth, he recoils. Because desire to him is only safe when it remains on the surface. Anything deeper threatens the identity he's built on performance. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." This is the tragedy of unexamined male desire. It chases, it consumes, it destroys, and then it mourns the loss of something it never truly held. Men who are ruled by their shadows do not see the woman in front of them. They see an echo of their mother's love, their first rejection, their deepest shame. And they want her not for who she is, but for the illusion of healing she represents. But no woman can carry a man's healing in her womb. No woman can bleed out her own peace just to ease his war. The moment she tries, she begins to disappear. This is the danger of being the woman. Every broken man desires. You must constantly choose not to be the woman who saves him. You must choose, instead, to save yourself, again and again. Because sexual energy, when unconscious, becomes a weapon, not just against the other, but against the self. The man who seeks only flesh, without spirit, becomes lost in a maze of mirrors, never seeing his own reflection clearly. The woman who gives herself in longing for love that isn't real begins to rot in places no one sees. But when both are awake, when desire meets awareness, something holy happens. He no longer wants to conquer, he wants to know. She no longer wants to prove, she wants to feel. They no longer seek to complete one another, they become mirrors for each other's growth. That is sacred desire, the kind that is patient, the kind that listens before it touches, the kind that honors boundaries and worships stillness as much as surrender, the kind that doesn't just climax, it transforms. But for most, it requires a death first. The death of boyhood wounds, the death of performance, the death of the false self that says, "I need you to make me feel worthy." And for the woman, it means the death of the part that wants to be needed more than she wants to be respected, the death of the longing that confuses pain with passion, the death of her silence. When both die to the lie, they rise into the truth. But until then, your task, woman, is not to teach him, it is to remember you, to stay rooted in your body, to move slow, to feel everything, even the ache, without rushing to fix it. There is beauty in that ache. It is your compass. It is the place where truth begins. Stay there. Let the fire refine you. Let the silence teach you. Let the desire for something real cleanse you of what was never meant to stay. Because when a man touches your skin with reverence, not hunger, when he waits until your eyes say yes, not just your lips, when he listens to your no and loves you more for it, you'll know this is no longer the shadow, this is the soul. In the end, it is not the woman's beauty that lingers, it is her absence. Her echo lives in the corners of his mind, not because she was perfect, but because she was present, fully, painfully, unapologetically. She stood in her own body like a temple, and for a moment, he was allowed to worship what he did not understand. And when he failed to honor it, not with cruelty, but with fear, the door closed. Not slammed, not locked, just no longer open. And that is the wound he cannot name. Not the loss of her, but the loss of what he might have become beside her. Because the truth about conscious women, the ones who have done the shadow work, the ones who've sat in their own pain and found power, there is that they do not beg for love, they invite it. And if it does not rise to meet them, they do not shrink, they ascend. They ascend into lives so full of color, of meaning, of inner peace, that anything less feels like noise. And the men who once held them or thought they did now sit in silence, wondering how they slipped through fingers too afraid to hold. This is the awakening. Desire, untamed, leads to destruction, but desire, refined, leads to liberation. The man who sees this doesn't suppress his craving, he learns to listen to it. He no longer reaches for women to escape himself. He reaches to connect fully, slowly, intentionally. And the woman who once feared her own hunger, who believed her body was dangerous, her presence too much, she now claims it. She no longer hides her sensuality. She inhabits it, like a queen returning to her throne, because her desire is not dangerous, it is divine. When it is respected, when it is met, it becomes a force that heals. So now, she walks differently, not with the weight of being wanted, but with the lightness of no longer needing to prove why. She doesn't dress for attention, she dresses for expression. She doesn't speak to be heard, she speaks to be felt. She doesn't touch to seduce, she touches to connect. And when a man touches her, it must be with reverence, like the hands of a pilgrim at an altar. This kind of woman changes the room, not with noise, with presence, not with charm, with essence, not with games, with truth. She is the storm and the calm, the ache and the balm. And above all, she is free, because she knows now what most are afraid to admit, that real power is not in being desired, it is in being whole without being desired at all. She no longer needs to be unforgettable. She needs to be unforsaken by herself. And if that means some men will walk away, so be it. Let them walk. Let them run from her silence, her depth, her knowing. Let them find easier women. Let them chase softer fires. Because the woman who has seen the dark side of desire and lived, she doesn't want comfort anymore. She wants truth. She doesn't crave validation. She craves devotion, the kind that cannot be bought, lured, or manipulated. And if it never comes, she still wins. because she didn't abandon herself to be chosen. She didn't trade her fire to be touched. She didn't water herself down to be digested. She remained. And the man who is ready, truly ready, will not crave her because she is beautiful or kind or healing. He will crave her because she reminds him of who he really is. And more than anything in this world, a man will always return to the woman who made him remember himself. But this time, she's not waiting. She has already chosen herself. And that is the story that lasts long after the desire fades. The woman who knows her worth doesn't chase, she chooses.